So I've been picking up on an energy tonight that is really heavy and really frustrating. Um, it's not mine, and I know that, but it has been really goddamn heavy and frustrating. But I feel it in my throat, and I feel it in my solar plexus. Um, and it feels like somebody is struggling to maintain control over a situation, wants to regain control over a situation, feels out of control in a situation, and is really frustrated. And I resonate with this feeling. The last time I really felt it was at the end of my marriage and when I was considering divorce about 10 years ago. And it's like hitting a wall. It's hitting that wall repeatedly. And you keep hitting that wall with somebody, and it's so frustrating because you feel so misunderstood and can't understand why. And the whole reason why is because they don't want to understand. They don't want to go there. They're not capable. They're not willing. There's something. So when it comes to my readings, if it's a romantic relationship, great. But, this is about interpersonal stuff in general, so it doesn't have to be. But when somebody's committed to whatever, putting up that wall, misunderstanding you, not budging, not moving, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say. There's no magic combination of words that's suddenly going to give someone that aha moment. And I know this after many, many years. And people seem to think that if they say things the right way or if they explain things in the right way to somebody that, suddenly they will understand. But what a lot of people aren't recognizing is this person isn't willing to understand. This person is committed to whatever their line is, for better or for worse. Usually it's worse. But they're not going to find uh, any kind of sense in what you're saying because they're deliberately doing that to not. Whether they either can't handle it or won't, if they do or don't have the capacity, you're getting it, the frustration is so heavy, and you want someone to understand. And generally, there's a lot of care and concern and love involved when you feel that. Um, but when you're trying and trying and trying and trying to get your point across and trying to say something and trying to be understood, and they're just not, then at some point you have to sort of take a step back and say, they're not trying to understand me, and let that be the truth of it. Because generally it is the truth of it. Maybe someday they might have the capacity to understand or do different, but you can't make them get there. And there's nothing that you can say or do that will make them do that when they're committed to not. If you have tried and tried and tried, if you're feeling this frustration right now, this reading might be for you. Let's see what we got. A few left behind, so we'll take that here. Let's see what we got. I'm going to use, oh my God. Sorry. The Five of Wands just came out. And if there's ever any tarot card representation of what I was just talking about, it's really that Five of Wands. I'm going to look at this. I have my desk, my bed desk here, so it doesn't have a lot of room, but something is coming to an end. So this is, and I'm using a spread um, that I was taught today by a wonderful friend, my wonderful friend Storm, who's also known as the Storms Eye here in Chicago. Does a lot of wonderful things. We're coming to, so this is outside right now, is that there's an ending. the universe. You know, we're coming to the end of a cycle, and there may be some, well, you know, I mean, it's just kind of like, it's almost like I don't know, I almost said Fendar. Fendar was a 3.5 foot tall ceramic black panther that used to live in my house that belonged to my ex-husband. And I miss him dearly sometimes. He was a really wonderful thing to have around. Um, and it's interesting that that name would come up. I'm trying to say the name of the luck dragon from the Never-Ending Story, but the name won't come out of my brain. It just keeps going Fendar. So outside of us, there may be things or material items or some sense of material security. You know, we're hitting this wall with somebody. We are coming up against that wall every time, and we keep trying to talk it out. We keep trying to talk it out, and it's not working, right? Um, and I'm looking at the flames coming out of this guy's mouth, and it's just like burn it all down. Also, I'm only halfway through with my nails, so forgive me. We've got Saturn in the corner here. So it's been, talk about Saturn lessons all last year and then this year too. If we didn't face the things we needed to face last year, they're coming up now. But what I'm really seeing is like we're coming to the end of this cycle. We're kind of burning things away. Some things may even be being burnt down figuratively, not literally, but it feels like I'm not even sure we quite understand what we're fighting for. And I say, like the royal we, whatever, it's the collective we. It doesn't necessarily include me. There's a lot of things, I see a lot of spheres behind the sky too. So there's a lot of things that we have tried to manifest, tried to bring into creation, and it hasn't happened. And so now we're just kind of burning it all, kind of like a phoenix, you know, it has to burn up and then we can use those raw materials to build something new. But it is, I feel like it's creature comforts, honestly. You know, it's like we may have had something good in the past. We may have entanglements with something. My divorce has come up with this, and thankfully that went off pretty easily, settled all out of court and whatnot. But that's not always the case for people, of course. And, you know, it can be when we are woven into other people's lives, you know, through marriage or other contracts, businesses, things like that. It can be really hard to pull that apart. And it can be really painful, and you feel like you're losing a lot. Please remember to, you know, the spiritual feng shui, the clearing out, the burning away of the stuff so that something new can rise. Because you cannot reclaim the past. You cannot go back to a time where things were good. If you are struggling with hitting that wall with someone and you've tried and tried and tried, it's about time you recognize that that mask has dropped. And whatever it was that they were willing to perform for so long to make things feel like it was together, they can't do that anymore. People can't wear that mask forever. So that mask is dropped. Things need to burn down. And that's what's outside of us right now, what we're leaving behind here. We have Bridget, Daughter of Cups, and that's actually, this deck has, you know, son, daughter, father, mother, and daughter would be the knight position, and mother would be the king position, as it were. It's a little different in this deck. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have these stone columns here, you know, which is sort of like ancestry and tradition. This little stream that's leading to this cave on the cliff with Bridget sort of beckoning us to come in. But what I'm noticing here is too, the stream takes a sharp left turn. Actually, there's a path that goes behind these 3 stones, but it also takes a sharp left this way. Nothing is actually reaching that cave, that going within. And so this is sort of like, I think there was a sense that somebody had more love than perhaps they've actually been able to demonstrate. Or, it was a lot of demonstration. It was a lot of for show. And it was a lot of, oh yeah, we'll be doing this and we'll be doing this. And if we take this path, we'll be able to go here, and on and on and on. But it's never quite landed you where you thought it was supposed to, or where it was promised that you would land with this. And that's only a Knight of Cups. So the thing, Bridget's face looks so serious. The thing I just, when I think about King of Cups, I think about wearing your emotions on your sleeve. But what I just heard was wearing emotions like a mask. And the way Bridget is looking, she's like, man, you got to be honest about which way these waterways go, because we're never getting to this cave. You're never getting to this cave. And if that's where you want to be, that cave of mysteries, you got to find a different way. And she's not harsh about it or anything. She's honest about it. And I do think that maybe it feels harsh because of self-admonishment, in the sense that, man, you feel like we were duped. With the Knight of Cups, wearing the emotions on the sleeve, wearing the emotions as a mask, masking emotions, or masking with emotions to make somebody believe something that wasn't actually true, to get something out of them. And that's a hard thing. And it's, understandable why we've got this huge wall of pent up emotions that are just, feels like they have nowhere to go. And I know that tends to happen when we are, when somebody's mask finally does come off, when somebody kind of finally reveals who they truly are, and that stuff starts to come out, it's a lot of cognitive dissonance, because we've known them or understood them to be one person, which was just sort of an act. And it's a lot of dissonance because, we're seeing the truth of someone, but then the memories are something else. So, if this is you, if this is for you, it's a lot of frustration. And I want you to be easy on yourself, because it wasn't that you were too stupid to see it soon enough. It was that somebody else was not being honest, or was only giving you half-truths, or was playing a role in order to get things. And that's not because you're stupid. It's because they're manipulative and dishonest. Inside, we've got Daughter of Swords in the South, which is Isis. She looks pretty serious too. But she also looks pretty gentle. And the one, oh my gosh, and then I forgot, we've got the Heather. We've got the little Heather figure over here. Heather, of course, being an Egyptian goddess, but I know the Heathers as beings that I work with, and that's a whole other story. Point being, they see a larger perspective of things because they're kind of bigger beings, shall we say. So they see things from a larger perspective, from a different perspective. And inside yourself, I think, Daughter of Swords, it does talk about truth, and certainly Isis does as well. But the truth can be hard to swallow, and sometimes the truth is only something that we can see from a larger perspective. And when we're stuck in this place of trying to unravel, exactly what we've been through, and feeling so frustrated and pent up and fed up, it can be hard to be cliche, to see the forest for the trees. But you have folks around you who are trying to help you see the truth and see the forest for the trees, and not being mean about it or anything like that. It's not like anybody's trying to force you to do this or that. But I think it's about time you were honest with yourself about the truth. And the thing about Isis here, she's got, you can see the sun disk, but there's also this moon, this crescent moon here. And so the truth isn't just coming from, observation and logic. The truth is also something that she senses and knows within. She's her intuition is very keen. And as she's looking at this, and we've got Heather here in the corner, sort of talking with her and saying, look, this is what the rest of us see. There's confirmations coming through with the intuition and with what we know, and pieces are falling together. It's not easy. Right here in the middle, the key, right? What's the issue? 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands is sort of that conflict that just goes and goes and goes and goes. It's just fighting, it's fighting. It's exactly what I described. You're hitting that wall. A lot of tarot decks, that 5 of Swords, is like a evenly matched. It's like that battle that will never end. One of my first decks, the tagline for that was unfulfilled struggle. And sometimes, especially with, relationships, whether they be romantic or not, everybody's like, fight for what you love, fight for what you love. Sure. But there comes a point where, you're just fighting. And if somebody else isn't budging, if they're putting up that wall, if the same thing goes around and around and around, then all you're doing is fighting and stalling. You have to understand that fighting for what you love doesn't mean actually fighting. It means making hard decisions and having uncomfortable conversations and putting in that extra effort, because that's what it takes. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships, it takes 2 people to do that. Even if you're doing it as much as you can, if somebody else isn't, it's not going to go anywhere. And I think that may be what we're looking at. Moving towards, we've got 6 of Stones, which in this card, this deck says success. It's getting back what you put in, right? So it's not that things have stalled, or that if you step out of this cycle and say, okay, I'm done with this, I need to let all of this go, I need to figure out a different way, or I need to let things burn down so that I can build again. You're not going to lose everything. You still have what you put into it, and that is something. Whatever was causing all of this conflict has just caused stagnancy. So I'm flipping over these cards. 5 of Cups. I'm sorry. Father of Cups in the North, King of Cups. I love this one so much because it's so tied to the Hangman. It's Odin in the tree, getting the runes. And, he's got the one eye. He sacrificed a lot, right? He sacrificed a lot out of love, to bring this knowledge back. And the question is, how much more are you going to sacrifice to get nothing, to get nowhere, to be stuck here in this Five of Wands. What is this Five of Wands about? These other 4 cards here. We're going to pick this one. 4 of Cups. There's a sense of stagnancy. There's a sense of staleness. There's I see dried leaves and dead branches in there. And so it's, things are not fertile. Things are not growing. Things are drying up. And so there hasn't been forward motion. What is the truth that Isis is looking at? Ace of Stones. You know, again, this may not be a romantic relationship. So if that's applicable to you, great. But understand that, you know, there's a lot more important relationships in our life than just the ones that involve romance. And interpersonal dynamics are a pattern that we repeat with everybody. Isis is looking at the truth of this financial beginning, of this, you know, of this financial venture. So this may have been like a business partnership or a job that you've invested a lot of time and energy into. And now it's just things are not moving. There's conflict, there's disagreement, and truth be told, there's a dissatisfaction as well. 4 of Cups. You know, it's not like it was all bad, but it's not going any further. So it definitely is time to move on. Oh, wow. We've got Son of Stones, Chief Seattle. And then we've got Alchemy. You know, whenever I see this card, it always hits me pretty deeply. And I think about his speeches, Chief Seattle, and the notion of sacrifice. And then I also think about this, you know, the indigenous peoples, when they sold the Chicagoland to white people here, you know, there was this notion of sacrifice, but this notion of I need to protect myself. We need to protect ourselves and save ourselves, because quite frankly, if we don't do what they want, if we're not going to sell them this land, they're going to take it by force. So we're going to do our best, you know. And it feels like, well, now I think I can understand why that just wall of frustration, and it's almost like internal screaming, maybe even external screaming. I don't know. I don't necessarily hear, but that's what it felt like. And so the message here really is, the key is, you know, arguing about it isn't getting you anywhere, hasn't gotten you anywhere, hasn't changed anything. Hasn't changed anything. It just keeps going around and around and around. It's been hard to see the truth, because internally we were still focused on this idea of building something new and big, and that's really not happening. You know, we've got Son of Stones, or Page of Stones, as it were. And what we really were able to get out of that was just a little. Odin is hanging from the tree, and he's worked very hard and sacrificed a lot, and has come back with some precious things, right? This being, you know, the Father of Cups, this being the Daughter of Cups here. This is a little bit more understanding of the emotional turmoil and the emotional sacrifice. And we're looking at this in a different way, or that's the key really, is that we do need to look at this in a different way. Start looking at how satisfied you actually are. Things are dried up. Things are not flourishing. Things are stagnant. Things are stalled. Things need to burn down so that something new can be rebuilt. And if you're afraid of loss, certainly some things have to go, but you're really not losing. You're really not losing what you put into it. What you are losing by walking away from this is this conflict, and this constant sacrifice of having to give, sacrifice. And now we're at this Father of Cups where, it's not enough. We've given too much. And so we're going to take our toys and go home, or we're going to take what we've learned and gained from this and use that as a foundation for the next thing. And I love the message from Spirit here, alchemy, just temperance and other decks. Alchemy is something that I'm very familiar with, and it isn't, we've gone through something hard and then we're out of it and screw that, I'm never going to think about it or do that again. That's not alchemy, that's denial. Alchemy is saying, okay, I can learn from this situation. I have experienced some frustrating hardships. I feel like I'm not in control. I don't know what to do. I'm struggling, going nowhere, spinning my wheels. And it's time to let go. Alchemy is taking what we've learned and what we've gained through that situation and using it again to build better for ourselves. This isn't failure, it's success. And so whatever it is that has to be burned down, whatever this cycle is that's ending, whatever it is that has to be released, it's not a loss, it's a gain. Because as long as you are willing to go within, hang upside down in a tree for a little bit, self-examining and working to create that alchemy where, it's like, this is where I won't repeat this again. But this is what I've gained out of it, and I can take these skills and make something even better that works so good for me. And I know it's frustrating, and it's just like I feel this cognitive dissonance, and it's like screaming and hitting walls. Hitting walls is what I keep hearing. Two of Cups. Well, oh wow. Two of Cups. On the bottom of the deck, Six of Cups. So we've got the Six of Cups in the shadow. Here we have that sphere of manifestation. We've got, 4 cups, 2 cups here with the sphere of manifestation. Those dreams did not materialize. What were we left with? Just this 4 of Cups. And this past situation, I feel like it's weird that there's all these pentacles and all these cups, and I don't necessarily know that it was romantic, but I do feel like there was a lot of love and respect involved here. But the thing is, the past did not, this situation is not producing, it's not moving you towards what you want. By letting go, letting it burn down, and building something new on that foundation, alchemizing it into what in alchemizing those lessons, learning from them, incorporating them into what you're rebuilding so that you don't make those same mistakes. I think there's a lot more potential here. I love this I Ching. I really need to learn these. At some point, I've been using this deck for 20 years. It's just not something I ever learned. But I look at that and it's just solid. Two of Cups. There's a 2 of Cups in the 6 as well, and that sphere is between it. So it almost feels like that balanced exchange was so determined on what was being manifested in between. Whereas these 2 cups, or by 2 people, whereas these 2 cups are kind of, they're more equal, they have their own magic. I love the peacock in the background. That's such goddess energy. That's a very caring and nurturing energy too. Move forward and look for something that is actually more balanced. I think one of the biggest lessons you may have learned through this situation is people with a lot of hot air, people who say a lot of things, people who, may either, I'm not going to use the N word, they're very charming, or they have a lot to say. Their words sound great, their plans sound great, but nothing actually came out of it because it was just words. It was just ideas. It was just a mask of an emotion, a mask of passion, a mask of commitment. And that's something, you actually can look for those signs moving forward too, because if you were to reflect on where you came from, you would probably kicking yourself in the butt for being, oh yeah, I saw them do this and this and this. I should have known then. You should have not. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know now, and that's what you just need to alchemize to build something better with, because now you know what to look for. Somebody who is investing versus somebody who talks about it a lot but doesn't actually do it. Moving forward, you're going to find somebody who's already doing that. You're going to see them do it for themselves. And then you are also doing that for yourself. And so then you can choose. It's a choice to build that with somebody else. But generally, we need to know how to do that on our own first. And that may just be the knowledge, that you came out of that tree with. It's going to be okay. Have a popsicle. It's not one of those gummy ones. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. That's just spirit present. It will be okay. Let things go. Let it burn. Let it fall apart if that's what you need. Okay? That's about it. I hope you have a wonderful night. I need to get to bed. Love you. Bye.